It's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. There's some seats up here.
Is that a space?
I don't want it. Ken, could you do roll call?
Absolutely. Blackburn.
Present.
Deroni.
Here.
Hageman.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
McAlexander. Here. Mashigian.
Here.
Miller. Mr. Miller did inform me that he would not be able to attend this meeting last week, so you have a quorum of 6.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
I so move.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is the approval of the village council regular meeting minutes from February 24th, 2025. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the village council meeting minutes of February 24th.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is public comment not on published agenda. Before I get to that, I just want to remind everybody to silence your cell phones, please. And this meeting is being recorded, so anything that you say at the podium will be part of our meeting. Are there any public comments not about the roads? Name and address, please.
Good evening, my name is Kurt Jones, I live at 23640 Overlook Circle. I just wanted to put on the record, as a little bird has told me that this is our village council's last meeting tonight and that he is retiring. And I had the pleasure of working with him for 7 years when I sat on the council. And I just thought his experience, his knowledge was invaluable. I don't recall in 7 years him ever giving us advice at a meeting that later proved not to be true, which I don't know if you realize how difficult that is when you're answering questions off the cuff that you don't know are coming before you. And I just think he's been a tremendous asset to the village. I enjoyed working with him a great deal. I'm sorry for the village that he's retiring, but as a retired attorney myself, I think you're going to love it.
Thank you. And that's sort of a perfect segue for me. I was also going to include right now, congratulations to Dirk. You've just shown unwavering support for the village for decades. I've been here for about 6 years, and you have just been nothing but a professional and supportive and always available. And we just can't thank you enough, but we're also extremely happy that now you're going to be able to spend some well-deserved time with your friends and your family. So
Thank you, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody here. Everybody's been great to me, and for that, I'm thankful.
great.
Thank you so much.
Well, we did get you a little card.
Okay, thank you,
So-
thank you so much.
You can take that with you, and again, don't be a stranger. Feel free to sit in on any meeting you want.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments not on the published agenda? Seeing none, we're going to move to the discussion topics. The first, we're going to start this tonight with the fire department monthly report.
There he is.
We're going to flip-flop a little bit for tonight. Make your way through.
It's like a high school hallway. Good evening. You've received my written report, and you have many other things on the agenda, so I will be as brief as possible. I was requested to discuss our budget submission, preliminary budget submission to the village. And in short, you've had this for about a month now. I did want to cover 2 main items, which are dealing with the preponderance of the budget contents. That includes the cost of doing things and the need to do things. So in terms of the cost, the fire department as a private corporation, just like everyone else, whether you're a business or personal, are faced with many costs that are increasing for the same service provided, and we are no different. In terms of trying to alleviate that, we have done as best as possible to not cut costs at the expense of services, but to cut costs with equal services. And that includes fire department training, that includes the acquisition of new apparatus, it includes changing our dispatch center from Oakland County to Bloomfield Township, which also has its own benefits outside of financial. But we've also seen issues related to the use of 911 in terms of medical needs and in terms of personnel needs. And I say that over the past years, we've seen several things. Now, I guess let me back up and state that the fire department at present does not transport medical patients from homes or facilities to the hospital, but we rely on a private service, Star EMS. We've used them for going on 15, 20 years now. It's been a minute. What we have found is that as the trades, specifically public safety, has borne the brunt of a lack of people over the past 10 years coming into the service, we have seen the private providers, specifically the EMS providers, being enticed to work for municipal agencies, for pensions, for better pay, for better hours. As a result, we do have other people coming into the trades. I'm not saying we're dying, but I am saying there's a price for this, and the price is less available personnel to work in the private providers, and more, especially since COVID, what seems to be an increased use of 911 rather than going to private providers. As a result of these things, our run numbers, our volumes have increased significantly, and our ability to get ambulances from Star and other private providers has taken longer. We're seeing times 10, 12, 14 minutes, which for the most part, 80% is just fine, but for 20% it's not. And when we are not able to get a private provider, whether it be Star, Universal, which used to be Alliance, they were bought out, MedStar, Superior, to name but some of the few larger companies, we found the need to be able to provide transport-capable services. Now, there's a benefit, and then there's a cost, and this is outside of money. The benefit is if somebody needs to get to a hospital in a life and death situation, by being able to transport, we will be able to do that. The cost is that we are going to be able to do that at the expense of removing all of our first responders that are going to the scene for a period of an hour to an hour and a half. As we saw today, in the village of Franklin, we had a medical run that ended at 1:33, and we then had a fire alarm that sounded at 1:37. So we are seeing more runs, and runs cannot be, incident responses can't be just to say you've had 600, you've had however many and divide it by a number of days. It doesn't work that way. We'll have a day, we had one last week with, I think we had 6 runs in one day. For us, it's a lot. We are a small community. But then over the course of the weekend, we had maybe 2. So when they come in, and we have no control over that. So a majority of this budget increase is based on increasing our staffing to afford 2 people on shift, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with ancillary personnel, what is our stipend program, where we take our volunteers and provide a stipend for them to work a shift. You could consider it part-time, to offset the open and available shifts from a lack of personnel, from vacations, from courses, wherever they're assigned, whatever it is. So that is the majority of our budget. I know the village process includes the establishment of a budget committee, and there are probably 1 or 2 other committees that the village contains, and the fire department is looking forward to working collaboratively with whatever committees are designated by the Village of Bingham Farms, so that we can all move forward in a manner that is equitable and that is economical to meet the needs that we are all faced with. So with that, no smart aleck remarks today, other than the high school thing. But if you do have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer.
Well, we know you're always more than available, so
Yeah.
I don't want to bombard you tonight. Like you said, we have a full agenda, but if anybody has anything they would like to discuss, Chief's always available, and our budget committee is going to be getting together very shortly, and we can loop you into that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Next, we have the police chief with his monthly report as well as a few other items. So welcome.
So I'm actually going to speak a little bit longer than the fire chief. I apologize tonight. And I'm going to miss Dirk as well because he always has a full water here, and sometimes I do take it when I'm talking. Is there any questions about the monthly report that I submitted? One incident that I want to discuss just real briefly is that we did have a domestic violence incident over at the SAD late last week. It involved a weapon, handgun. No one was injured. We were able to identify the suspect. We got a warrant for that suspect, and he'll be in our custody very, very soon. So it was resolved relatively peaceful. A couple announcements I have tonight I'm very excited about is first something that I've been working with Lisa and Ken about, and it's a communications platform with our residents here. This communication platform will allow us to efficiently keep residents in Franklin and in Bingham Farms informed during emergencies. It's designed to provide timely and accurate information to the public during critical incidents. I think this is going to be, like I said, a very valuable tool for the community. Residents do need to sign up for this service. We're going to be pushing out information through the newsletter that Ken puts out on our social media. I'm going to work with Lisa and Ken on how we can let all the residents know how to sign up for this, because I think it's really important. It can go to your phone, it can go to your landline, you can get text, email. I really envision you only getting messages once or twice a year. But if there's something that's happening on your street or down the street, we want to let you know to either shelter in place or exactly what's going on. So we want to be very transparent with all of you. So I'm very excited with this plan. We've vetted several plans, and this was the cheapest and really the best for us. So Franklin and Bingham Farms are going to split the cost of that, and it's well worth it. The second announcement is beginning this coming May. That's coming up quick. Our department will take part in a 2-year process through the Michigan Chiefs of Police Association to achieve state accreditation. This process will improve our overall effectiveness, our accountability, our professionalism, ensuring that we meet the highest standards of law enforcement in the state. When we're done with accreditation, we will be one of the top police departments in the state. And there's many, many small departments in the state of Michigan and very few that achieve accreditation. So it's really going to be a feather in the cap of our team, and for both Bingham Farms and for Franklin. It's a difficult process. And when I announced it to my team, they were not very happy, because everyone within the department has to work very hard to achieve this. For the last 4 months, we've been working on processes and policies, and I think we're ready to proceed. We applied for 2 grants relating to this process. We received both grants, so the accreditation process is going to be free for us. The software that we have to purchase is also going to be free, so that's good news. The second thing, or third thing, and I'm probably the most excited about this, is a co-responder program. And in law enforcement these days, we're talking about how do we get help to people with mental health illness or substance abuse problems, because law enforcement is asked to do more and more every day. And my wife's a psychologist. I am not a psychologist. So we want to be able to pull those type of resources in to help us with certain incidents, right? So we've partnered with the Oakland Community Health Network, which will provide a mental health professional, either a social worker or a psychologist. They're going to be working full-time. to assist us in helping individuals with mental health or substance abuse concerns. They'll be able to provide additional resources, advice, and they'll also do follow-up once the officers leave. This program was spearheaded by the West Bloomfield Police Department, my former department, and it will include a total of 5 departments. West Bloomfield is the largest, obviously, and they've agreed to partner with Keagle Harbor, Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake, and the Franklin Bingham Farms Police Department. West Bloomfield, through a lot of hugs and lunches that I paid for, I want to know, they're paying for $92,000 a year for this person. Bingham Farms and Franklin will be paying $2,500 if you approve it, each, for this service. I looked at doing this last summer with Bloomfield Township, with Auburn Hills and Birmingham, and they wanted us to pay $50,000. So I think we're getting an outstanding deal, and I think it's a great value to our community. So with that, is there any questions on the projects I've announced today?
Kurt, will this be then every year?
It'll be, yes. So the first year's free, and then after that, it's $2,500 a year.
So is the person, maybe it's all the above, is the person that you would hire, would they be mostly responsible to actually go on calls with you? Or would they work with known individuals that have problems outside of a police call to respond somewhere?
So they're going to be, police calls are going to be referred to this person, and they're going to probably be based out of West Bloomfield. So they'll work, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. If we have an incident and that person's not riding with us that day, because that person will move around right along with the officers, get to know them, we'll be able to, call them on the phone, or they'll be able to come to the scene. But certainly they'll be able to do follow-up in the future, after the incident's over.
What about after hours on call? Is that part of their salary?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that, but I will find out. All right.
Well,
Anything else?
Chief, are you looking for us to approve this agreement this evening, or do you want to wait a month?
We can wait a month. What you have in
Okay.
front of you is a draft.
Right.
They're still working out the details with the attorneys in West Bloomfield, but I know that they want to include us, which is
Okay.
great. So we can totally wait on that. It's fine.
Okay.
okay.
Thank you so
Well-
much.
Thank you very much. A lot of really, really great programs that are being added to both villages, and I appreciate your effort. And again, if everybody can watch for communication from the village on that Code Red or on Solve, we want every single household to be signed up. So you can start sort of talking to your neighbors about it and let them know to watch for something, or if they have a question, to call the village. We'll get you signed up. Thank you so much. Next is the manager's report.
Yeah, I have 2 things I want to highlight that are in my report that's written in the packet. 2 things. Number 1, with the big crowd here, this is important to me. Yard waste and leaf bags. The collection for that starts Thursday the 10th, so please don't put it out before that. I know sometimes when it gets a little warm, maybe not today, but other days, people can sort of jump the gun a little bit. Secondly, there is an opening due to a resignation on the Southfield Township Board of Trustees. There is an application that we have put on our website. There also is one, of course, on the township website. The deadline is April 2nd. A person who would be appointed would be filling a partial term, a 2-year term. Clerk Eileen Harrivan over in Southfield Township mentioned to me that it would be nice to have a resident from Franklin or Bingham on the township board. Apparently everybody is from Beverly Hills, nothing wrong with that, but we'd like to get a little more representation. If anybody's interested, feel free to look at the website, feel free to look at the application. If you want to call me and talk about it, we can do that too. And that's that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Yevgeny, our Economic Development Coordinator and Administrative Assistant report. Yevgeny?
It's been a fairly uneventful month on my end, so I don't have many updates to report unless there are questions.
Any questions?
Yes.
Is there a new opening date for the latest new restaurants?
No. So, the last I spoke with the owner, they were still in process of doing some final touches on the restaurant. I actually got a really nice tour of the facility with him. So as soon as he's ready, he's supposed to approach us for that opening event. So I'll definitely keep you guys posted once I find out more information.
Looking forward to a new Smalls.
We're referring to Smalls, which is a restaurant that opened, or it's about to open in the old Mandaloon space. We've been looking forward to this for many months now.
Yes.
We've eaten at Royal Thai twice. It's great, so please, everybody, give them your business. It's good for takeout, got a great dining room. So, nice spot for local Thai food.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, so if there's no more questions for Yevgeny, we are going to move to ongoing business, and we'll start with the roads project update and timeline. Mr. Brad Shepler is here from HRC.
Oh, there he is.
Come on in.
Thank you, everyone. Can put the timeline, the proposed timeline, in the packet for you. Should everything go okay this evening, we are planned and ready to go out to bid on Wednesday for the road project, and then we go for a 4-week bidding process, and hopefully be able to award at the next meeting and start as early as June 2nd, week of June 2nd. That is the update. Everything else is the same as provided to you last meeting in terms of cost estimates and things like that. You were all provided the contract book a couple weeks ago. And I'm just here for questions.
Okay.
I guess. I mean, the
Okay.
timeline was pretty much there. Ken and I kind of went over it already. And we've been planning for this for a while now. So we have everything we feel in order.
All right, thank you for coming. We'll see if we are going to be having the public hearing, so you'll stay,
Yeah.
right? So if there's any questions now, or if we want to hold off until after. Yes?
One of the things we talked about last time, and I think Eric brought it up, and that was getting some information back and forth between you guys. And I was thinking if we had a report from you, say bi-weekly, what was going on, any problems, how were they solved? Does that sound pretty decent? Does that sound doable?
Yeah. Anything you guys, again,
Is that-
as long as you lay out the expectations and what you want from us, we have no problem meeting them.
Yeah.
It's the surprise ones where I thought that you were gonna do this. If you lay them out for us and what you want a 2-week look ahead, you want a 2-week report on what went past, no problem.
Yeah, is that kind of what?
No,
you
I
were
think
thinking?
so. We're talking, just in trying to keep track of how it's progressing, and some of the concerns last time was just change orders as they come through. And, yeah, so maybe we can, I said this last month, but maybe we should make sure we put something in writing to you that said, these are some of the expectations that make sense, make sure Lisa and Ken understand what we're asking for. But I think some type of bi-weekly update to the council would be great.
Yeah, I mean, if there's something major, again, when you're dealing with underground,
Yeah.
sometimes you get unforeseen conditions.
Well, that's what we're concerned
If
about.
it's something major, we will definitely bring it up
Yeah.
to you, but again, we try not to stop construction, because that always just ends up costing money anyways, and then you cost money for no progress.
Right.
So we need to kind of gauge what we're looking at. We're pretty good at keeping any unforeseen items. If it's a real big issue, there's always ways to kind of skip and work around it for the time being to keep the contractor going. So we're very attuned to that. It's what we do. But I understand your concern.
Did you have anything to add to that?
I do not, at
Okay.
this time.
Okay. Okay, so then we'll move on, and the public hearing is next. There's just a couple of things that I wanted to go over first. For a little bit of background, just to make sure I catch everybody up in how we got to where we are. I'm going to keep it very, very brief. We've been working on this project for about 4 years, so there's a lot I'm not going to cover tonight, but I'm going to try to hit the highlights. I think a lot of people are here tonight to talk about the special assessment. How we got to that is that Bingham Farms is very unique in that approximately 50% of the people live on private roads and approximately 50% of the people live on public roads. The people on the private roads maintain their own roads. So they are responsible for any of their roads that are within their HOA. The people in that HOA pay for those roads. None of that money comes from the village or your tax dollars. So seeing that we are in this very unique situation, council last year formed a resident roads committee. That roads committee was formed. We tried to go basically half public road people, half private road people. We had 5 residents and 2 council people. They met multiple times and tried to come up with some proposals on how we could best tackle this. And they came up with proposals. Council went over those proposals, and one of those proposals included a special assessment district for the people that live on the public roads. Basically, everybody is got a 1 mil increase across the board, all residents, all homeowners. And then that special assessment district is just for people that live on the public roads. And right now, this is phase 1, so we're only talking about north of 13 Mile Road. Phase 2 will be south of 13 Mile Road. So everybody north got, who would be in the special assessment district, got the notice. And we want to hear tonight sort of your thoughts on this. Council has not yet cemented the dollar amount of the special assessment district. And I know there are other communities around that are incurring huge, huge dollar amounts, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. Our special assessment, the amount we've been tossing around is $500 per home owner per year over 10 years. So $500 a year for 10 years would be the special assessment amount. We came into the situation where there are a few private roads that feed into the public roads. So the people on certain private roads can't get to their home if they don't ride on a public road. And so looking at that, the number we've sort of tossed around, again, we have not voted on this yet, is maybe like $250 per household for those private road people who need to use Bingham Lane or Bingham Road per year for 10 years. So I just wanted to sort of catch everybody up a little bit on that. I think not everybody understood the $500 and the $250. And so I just want to make sure that just to calm some people's nerves, you know, we're not talking about tens of thousands of dollars over time. Just trying to balance out the public road and private road situation that we're in. So moving on to the public hearing, I want to explain a little bit how this goes. I'm going to open the public hearing, and the public hearing is just that. This is a time for the public to speak to council. There will be no back and forth between council members with each other, and there will be no back and forth from council members to the public. This is completely, it's almost like a separate meeting where you all get to speak to us. We will take everything that you say into consideration, and then after your public hearing part, I close that, then it'll be time for council to speak, at which point there will be no more comments taken from the public. So that's kind of how it goes. I do have the list that people signed up on. If you didn't sign up and you want to say something, you still can say something, raise your hand. If I call you and you have had your question answered, you can just say pass. And I don't know if there's any more on that, right there under that green water bottle, if anybody else signed up. I don't want to miss anybody.
Are we supposed to just sign up that we're here?
No, this is just if you want to speak.
It said here that we have to be able to prove that we were here.
Do you want to send around a thing?
Dirk?
That sheet was kind of 2 goals in one.
Dirk?
Oh,
Yes, Dirk?
That checks that as well.
Address that.
Yeah, they should sign that, yes.
okay, so if we can pass that sheet, we have 2 sheets. So if everybody can sign in with your name and address as we're moving forward, that would be great.
Can I ask a question before the hearing?
Sure.
Is there any history or precedent of any other special assessment districts happening in Bingham related to roads or otherwise?
I believe this is our first special assessment ever.
For roads,
For
yes.
roads, yes.
Thank you.
But we do have a special assessment district in the village.
Yeah, but we do have a special assessment district. I wasn't sure if you were talking about just for roads?
For roads or otherwise?
Yeah.
Any history or precedent of having different tax values for different households based on whatever the situation, roads or otherwise?
So we do have a special assessment district in the commercial district, is all in their own special assessment district, and they pay for, do you want to speak to
Yeah,
what
sure.
they pay for?
So I'm the treasurer, Bill Patton. Nice to meet you. To answer your question for the otherwise is we have two special assessment districts. One's for the commercial district that provide police services that are dedicated officers that go through to the parking lot, check the doors, do all of that. That is based upon, and I spread it every year, based upon the state equalized value of those parcel numbers and collect it. So that's been, I've been here 2 years, it's been many, many years since that's
the
been in
80s.
place.
I
Right.
think it was the 80s
The
it
80s.
started.
The second one is for a pump system that is on private road, Woodland Drive, and that pump system in the pond there, which we're going to be talking about later, that needs to be replaced. But the assessment for those 11 parcels, they also receive their own SAD that they have to pay on a yearly basis in order for WRC to be able to maintain that specific pump. Should, we have large rains or runoff or snow melting, and it pumps that water back into the drainage system so that nothing backs up or overflows. Those are the only two, in addition to the one that we're having the public hearing on for the roads.
Got it.
So,
Thank you.
answers your question?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. So the public hearing is open at 7:32. Is there anyone here to address the adoption of the resolution number 3 for the road special assessment district? If you are, I'll call your names, actually. We'll start there. You can approach the podium, and please provide your name and address for the record. And if there's somebody here that's going to speak for a group, you can do that. You will have 6 minutes to speak because you're speaking for a bigger group. If you're speaking as an individual, you will have 3 minutes to speak and make your point, and we'll time that and just sort of give you a little bit of a hands up when you're getting toward the end of your 3 minutes. Let me start with, is anybody here to speak with for a group? No, okay, then we will start with Mr. Huff.
I'm going to pause at this time because if it's okay to raise my hand later if I have any further questions.
Absolutely, I'll come back to you. Antonina Grinnan.
I'll do the same, I'll pass until then.
Okay, I think the next person's gonna say the same thing. Would you like to start?
Well, I have a
Mr.?
question, but it may not be on point here. about-
It's gotta be with this
Yeah.
for the special assessment.
Maybe later.
Okay. And Debbie Hedge,
I'll pass.
Joe Parambo.
I'll pass.
Okay. Chad Miller and Aaron Tormine May?
Wrong
Tormine May?
list. That's sign in.
Huh?
We signed in.
You signed twice, okay.
You asked us when we first came in, we told you to sign in.
Okay, would anybody like to speak for the Special Assessment District public hearing?
No torches, no march?
If you could come to the podium, state your name and address, and we'll start the 3 minutes.
Okay. I am Erica Fillmore, 31390 from Court. My home is one of the ones as part of the SAD. Personally, I don't really care about the cost. I do have concerns about necessity. I bought my house 15 years ago, and since then there have been 2 road projects, one of which caused massive damage to my property that took 4 years for the engineer to admit that they had done the pitch wrong. And finally, I don't know if they ate that cost, if Bingham ate that cost, but they fixed my house. So there was that. So there are some concerns just about the pitch, and there's some funky things that happen on from toward the cul-de-sac. Beyond that, I guess it's very tricky. There's no precedent, right, of having an SAD regarding roads. I kind of feel like when you decide to buy into a community, you're buying into a community. When you buy into a condo, you know you're buying into a condo with an HOA that's above and beyond what you get, you know, what you're committing to, excuse me, what you're committing to in terms of a village, township, or city commitment. I mean, I own a building at 13 and Telegraph. When I got that first tax bill that said I have to pay 5 figures for schooling and water, or not water, but like sewage and waste management that like we don't even get. What about all the people that have, you know, their kids are grown, they're not sending their kids to school? Do we get to piecemeal pick a la carte what we pay our taxes on? It's a really slippery slope. I see it from both sides. But if we get to pick and choose now, what happens later when it's the next thing? That's all.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Congratulations. Hello, my name is Ben Templeton. I live at 23172 Old Orchard Trail. When I spoke last time, I've kind of gotten over it. You're probably going to approve it anyway. My issue is that once a special assessment starts, it usually never ends. It gets asked to be renewed in 10 years, or when you're all not here in 10 years and somebody else is, and somebody decides that we need sidewalks, and they say, oh, we have special assessments set up. They can just pay for those. When utilities come through and want to do underground power because we lose power too often, they're going to say, oh, there's special assessment districts set up. Let's just use those. It's what comes next and what comes after you guys once everything is already set up and the framework is in place. So if you do decide to pass it, I'd love to see some language in there that says these are not renewable after 10 years or something along those lines so that people have a chance to speak again in 10 years when this is over. I just foresee, like many things that come up at the county level, they're always 10 years, 25 years, and then they're always asked to be renewed, and they're always just approved because we're all used to paying it. So some sort of language within there that says that this is over at a certain point. And I'd love to know how much before a special assessment is set up. To just say, let's set up a special assessment and we'll figure out how much later is a little disturbing because I trust that you guys say 250 and 500, but if you guys decide not to pick a final number and one of you changes or resigns and somebody else is on the board, now there's people that want to charge more. I just fear where it could go if it's not fully set up first.
Can I answer a few of those questions?
Yes.
Dirk, it's still a public hearing. We need to hear for the public, and then we can.
I can answer it.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
Is there anybody else?
Can we second what he just said?
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Wendy Minter. I live at 24130 Bingham Point Drive. So on the other side of the coin from Erica, who I know well, we live in a private road, and we have the cost and the maintenance of that. I was happy to hear, which I think is fair, that we would pay half because we do use Bingham Road, and we need to have that in good repair so we can get to our condo. However, we have a lot of other expenses internally that when you buy a condo, you're aware of. So we were a little surprised that we were part of the assessment, but I understand it. So I think it's a fair compromise of what you are offering, and I was happy to hear that. So we are friends. The other side of the coin. I just wanted to.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay, thanks.
You said you had your name on the list. Did you want to speak, Kurt Jones?
Sure.
name again is Kurt Jones, 23640 Overlook Circle. I'm going to say, I think, a couple things that Lisa already mentioned. This has been a long process, starting before Lisa was president. In fact, Ben was president when we started looking at this. And it's gone on for a number of years. We sent numerous, the village has sent numerous communications to residents. The village had a group of people, which included Eric, who sat on a special road committee. All the meetings were public meetings. There were notices given to everybody. We did everything we could to give people notice of what was going on. Thousands of hours of work, literally thousands of hours of work by the road committee members, the prior council members, the village staff, the village attorney, and our consultants have gone into this. There's been numerous dollars spent with our consultants, and we came up with a plan, we voted on it, and it included these special assessment districts. And to make changes to that plan now, when so much of the budget that Mr. Eric and I worked on for a while, to make those changes 2 or 3 days before you're going to spend out for bids, I think would be unfortunate. I just don't know. I don't know how you would replace the money at this point in time. You would be starting over in some ways to make the change at this late date. So I hope the council will approve the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Sorry, I've been in the hall.
Oh, come on in.
Oh, indeed. Sorry. Dean Nelson, 32905 Bingham Road. I generally am not opposed to being assessed. I guess my issue is I feel the private road people got let off the hook personally because we all drive down these roads. The garbage trucks all drive down the roads. The buses all drive down the roads. Our family members all drive the road when Telegraph is bogged down. And quite frankly, the big giant trucks that are building the big giant houses run down the roads, and they bring the property values up for everybody, including the private road people. So my personal opinion is private road people got let off the hook to the extent they're not in the SAD. And I am only opposed to those people who are seeking to either get out or pay less, because I personally think that that's wrong. We're a community. We all should have paid either what our taxes say we'll pay or minimally the same amount for this tax assessment. And sorry, I have to run because I have to get my kids, so I'm sorry if I'm short breath.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway, that is my point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Hi, Antonia Grenan, 30705 Timberbrook Lane. I am a private road person. I was also on the road study committee, and it has been pointed out, a lot of time went into that by citizens, and they were open meetings. And what I learned from that is that this is not an easy thing to solve. There's no perfect answer to this. Private roads were not, by the way, let off the hook. There was a recent millage passed that applies to everybody. It's a road funding millage, and everybody's paying that. So certainly you can't say private road people were let off the hook. It is an odd situation that we have half the residents here are on private roads and half the residents are on village roads. It's kind of weird. I've done a lot of municipal board work in other community where I lived, and this is a real strange situation. And there is no perfect solution. But I think the road committee offered options, different options to the council. The council chose the one that I hoped they would choose, because to me it was the most equitable. And I don't know if people on village roads completely understand. Private road people are taxed at the same rate But there are things that we don't get from the village because we're on private roads, and we bought into that. This is not a whine, but it's just a fact. We do get fire and EMS services. We get trash collection, the same as everybody else. But every other service is a little less. We get police protection if we're broken into, or there's a crime in progress, but we don't get traffic enforcement. If somebody's speeding through our community or running a stop sign or blocking a fire hydrant, the police department can't act on a public road. We're on our own. We have to hire somebody private to come in and do those services that most people expect of their village. Road maintenance, that's already been covered. The private road communities, HOAs, ding us residents for those, and we've been paying those to keep those roads up. Nobody helps us with that. Road engineering services. We don't have Hubble, Roth, and Clark to talk to on the village's nickel. We have to pay engineers when we have to do a road project, and that adds to that cost. Also, neighborhood road projects are small comparatively to municipal ones, and the most expensive road projects, I know from my experience in this stuff, they're the most expensive because the big cost is getting the equipment and the people out there. If you're doing a big job, you're paying less per linear foot or however they measure it. So we pay not only our own, but we got to pay it at a higher rate because we're doing small jobs, and they're the most costly. Snow removal. Nobody plows our streets. We got to pay a private company. And again, paying a private company.
You're at 3 minutes, I'm sorry.
All right, you've heard enough.
Folks, if you're going to address the council, you need to address the council, not the chair of the council, not the people in the audience. That's how this is supposed to work. Okay.
Is there anybody else? Oh, okay. Have any written comments been
You
submitted?
need to close the public hearing first, if no one else is going to speak.
Oh, I guess you're going to read the.
We have no written comments at this point.
Okay. So if nobody else, I just want to give our.
I apologize. David Huff, 32907 Bingham Lane. I just want to resonate what Ben said, and the literature that we got said if you don't make your point, you don't get to argue it afterwards. So I would actually suggest that there's not a single person here that wouldn't agree that we don't want to see a special assessment become, after the 10 years, renewed. And I would ask that that be very, very clear in the road commission's words. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? You want to? I'll close it and then, yeah. Seeing no more individuals wanting to address the council on this issue, the public hearing is closed at 7:49. Were there any written comments?
There are no written comments that were submitted to me for reading into the record. At this point, you would want to have discussion at the council level and at the consultant level, and I think Dirk would like to say something. Right?
Yeah, I would like to start with Dirk, if you could answer
Right.
that question.
Ben raised a couple of issues. One was concerns about the special assessment district perhaps being expanded to include other improvements, unrelated water and sewer, sidewalks, that kind of a thing. This special assessment district is limited solely to improving the roads in the special assessment district and those associated improvements that have been described as part of that. So you can't expand that. The cost issue is going to be determined tonight. When you pass the resolution, you will have to decide whether you're going to go with the $500 a year per property for 10 years and on public roads and $250 a year for 10 years on private roads. We have to establish that number tonight so that everybody will walk out if you're knowing that that's the number. Finally, the renewal. This kind of a special assessment is not subject to a renewal. if you decided that you wanted to do another special assessment 10 years from now, you'd have to go through the whole process all over again. You couldn't just hold a hearing and renew it. I think those are the three questions I heard.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I did want to address the one thing to council. I can't remember if this happened previous to the new council or the previous council or this council, is that we chose to hold off on deciding the exact dollar amount until we heard from the public. That was very purposeful. We didn't want to decide a dollar amount and then have everybody here and say, this is what you're paying, we've already decided it. We very purposefully waited so that we could hear the concerns of the residents before our discussion where we had to make that decision. So that's again kind of how we got to tonight. And so I want to thank everybody for all of your comments, and I'm going to open it up to council for discussion.
Actually, I have a number of questions, and this more related to Dirk.
Yeah.
As you stated, this really is not renewable.
that's correct.
Okay. If we decide on a particular number, do we renew that number every year?
It'll be, yes. You don't, no, you don't renew it every year. It'll be that number every year.
Can
Plus-
we make that
plus-
number go down?
You could only make that number go down if you decided that the costs, the actual costs of the project were less and would require you to specially assess less. So yes, you can make the number go down, you can't make the number go up.
Okay, that pretty, yeah, that's what I wanted to, okay.
And it should also be noted that it's $500 a year for the public roads, 10 years, 7% interest. Your ordinance requires that 7% interest be charged on special assessments. So I don't know if anybody mentioned that, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody's clear on that.
Can you say that again?
Yes, it's $500 a year for 10 years at 7% interest per year.
And it's paid up
Pardon?
front. It could be paid up front.
The interest?
Well, no, the entire amount.
Oh, yes, yeah, if you pay it up front, absolutely, yes. And in the next, just in terms of process, assuming that you pass the resolution tonight, which is approving the necessity and establishing the boundaries and establishing the amount, the next resolution you will see, and the next thing you will do will be a public hearing on the resolution for confirming the roll. That will be at your April meeting, and that'll be the next resolution you'll see, and that will be the last resolution in the process. So you should have this process, assuming that you adopt the resolution tonight, you should have this process, SAD process, wrapped up from a procedural standpoint by the meeting in April. And that will be a second public hearing.
Right. Thank you. Did you have another question?
Yes, okay, so by approving this, then that allows HRC, then, let's go.
Let's go.
Okay,
The next step will be going out for bid.
yeah,
But the answer is yes.
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Anything? I'm going to kind of go around just to make sure everybody has an opportunity to
jumped
say
in, I'm
something.
sorry.
No, it's perfect. I want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak if they have something to say. If you don't, you can pass and jump in later, but I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity.
Thanks, thank you. I just want to comment, I understand both sides. The idea that we want everybody to be happy and to feel as though, you know, you're not being, paying for something that isn't yours.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt. You need to address council only.
Okay.
You can't address the public.
We need to be cognizant of how our residents are feeling. One issue that I feel is as important as that of getting to and from your residence, if it's on a private or public road, private road, is it's also emergency vehicles getting to your home using the public village-owned roads. And when you have a house fire, any of us, we had a situation recently where that happened, or a house that's being broken into, we certainly want to be able to get services you need there quickly and unimpaired because of road problems. I think that's an important aspect. And I guess we'll have to ask the resident what that's worth to them. So.
Thank you.
I am probably the only member of council who lives on a private road, and I am duty-bound to represent the interests of the private road homeowners. While I have been at all of the council meetings that have discussed the $500 as a possibility, and it was in our list of proposals that we got from the road committee, the $500 was always a discussion number. I've never heard the $250 number until tonight being a discussion number. I don't know where that number came from or who came up with that number. And in a lot of ways, if there are 30 condo units on one frontage from Bingham Point that comes onto a public road for 50 feet, seems to me that 250 a resident for that frontage is overly burdensome. And so I ask council to pay a little more close attention to how we are voting on this. Perhaps we vote for the $500 for those who have direct benefit, and then we have a separate vote for those people who are in the special assessment district, but also share the responsibilities of private home ownership and their related costs. Private road ownership and their related costs. So I ask council to consider voting on two separate items. And I think the $250 assessment needs to be talked about a little more. I think it's a little high. I think it's extraordinarily high for the benefit received.
Yes.
I guess having not been on the council for all the previous work, most of it was done before I was here. And I think I heard from council members and a lot of the public of hearing back to, there's been a lot of work over a lot of years, a lot of steps that have been made to get here. And I think where we're at is fine-tuning the last few steps of exactly what the nuance of the 500 and the 250 are going to be. And we keep going.
Thank you.
I was actually on the road committee, it's been mentioned already tonight. So it was my first experience working, I guess in an official capacity. I was chosen to be part of the committee. We worked 2 nights a month sitting in this room. It was a public hearing. And it was recorded, a public meeting. And I think when I think back on it, it was an extremely credible process. It was very diverse from private roads, public roads, north, south of 13 Mile. So I think it was a very thoughtful process in the way it was set up. And frankly, a lot of the discussion was not unsimilar to what we've been hearing from the public. Because we quickly realized, I realized for the first time, because if you had asked me before then, I would have not guessed that slightly more than half of the people in Bingham Farms live on a private road. And it's not just the condos. There's private roads. Woodland is a private road. Bingham Court is a private road. And frankly, there's even a handful of addresses in the village that are 13 mile and 14 mile addresses. So there's a lot of variety going on. And the discussion, the only real contentious discussion during all those months of the road committee was the exact conversation we're having tonight over fairness. We live in a community, we live in a condo, and so on and so forth. I think the work that was done was the right work. I think there was a tremendous discussion on SADs. There was a tremendous discussion on how to come up with a dollar number that made sense. And I think a lot of the thought process at that time is how much, first of all, is there some middle ground? If we're gonna compromise on anything, is there a middle ground that would make sense for both public and private road people? And if there is a number, making sure that it was not a number that would be a burden on virtually anybody in this community. And a number not to be a burden, but a number that made a significant difference in the revenue. Over the course of the 10 years, for both phases of this project, the SAD will raise $1 million. It's not insignificant. On the other hand, I want to speak for previous councils. Previous councils, up to this council, had been able to earmark, save, whatever the right word is, well over $3 million to do this project. So there was a really good start point. That $3 million was paid equally by everybody in this village, based on their taxes. $3.3 million. We've been able to borrow some money to make sure we can do the project. That borrowing is going to be paid for by a $1 million increase, again, equally paid by everybody in the village, plus the people that will get the most direct benefit of the roads, which is the people that live on the roads, which is the $500. I agree, I've not been involved in too much discussion about private road, $250, but the $500 that we worked on, the special assessment district, as a part of this process, we worked on for countless hours. I agree with what Kurt Jones says. If we change that dollar figure tonight, it would be unfortunate. Thank you.
I guess I'll add also that we have been working on this for 4 years, and we are right at the cusp now of moving it forward. If we don't come to a resolution tonight, we're risking an entire construction season, and next year the cost will only be higher. The number that's kind of been given over time is that the cost to do roads goes up approximately 4% a year. I'm not looking forward to refiguring all the numbers again for another 4%. The time and energy and effort that's been put into this is just unprecedented in this village, I believe, and it's important that we move this forward and come to a resolution tonight. I do want to remind all of our trustees that we all represent all of the members. None of us represent or are duly elected by private or public roads. We are to represent every single homeowner in this village, whether you're on public or private. So nobody here should be making decisions based on where their personal house lives or where their personal house is. Everybody that voted for that person should be represented tonight. I feel it may have been previous to this council that number 250 was thrown around. Again, it could be a different number. That's what we're here for tonight. I'm just trying to give people a ballpark of what might make sense. I think if everybody walks out of here a little bit unhappy and a little bit happy, we've done our job. We after, like you said, thousands of hours probably talking about this, we've come to the realization that there's no perfect formula for this. And there's no other community that we can even look to see what they did. I don't know of another community that has almost exactly 50% private and 50% public. So we need to come to some sort of agreement here, and let the people know when they walk out of here what they can expect over the next 10 years. I agree with you, Trustee McAlexander, that we're trying to not make this overly burdensome. I don't feel like $500 or $250 would, a year for 10 years is overly burdensome for any residents, and that can be argued, but it's our duty to get the roads done. It is part of what we need to do as a village, is maintain our roads. And the longer we let them go, the worse they get and the more expensive they get. So you could say, well, let's just wait till they crumble. It's only going to be more expensive at the end. So now is the time. They're at the point in their life where they need some attention, and we need to give them that attention. So I am going to take it in sections. I think first we'll talk about the $500. I think that's something hopefully we can agree on. If anybody wants to talk about that $500 number, or if we're all in agreement, we can move on, but.
So Eric, you said that in the roads committee, in the math that was being done in the committee, that was the number that was used.
$500.
Yeah, the $500.
For 10 years. Per year for 10 years. But truthfully, there was a lot of numbers talked about.
Why?
That was where we decided was the sweet spot.
But there's, as it all adds up, and we know, right, there's the cost of the whole project.
Yeah.
The cost of the whole project is estimated, we'll find out as we get bids, and there's a lot of variables. But in the, we're shooting a lot of things into a stack of numbers where all the money comes from. That was one of the pieces.
Wait, are you done?
Yes.
Can you review the multiple sources of revenue that's going to pay for phase one? We have the.
Well, there was, would you want me to do that?
I would ask our treasurer to do that.
Go for it, Bill.
He was going to be, that was my next question, was to go to Bill with something, but yeah, that's fine.
So to answer your question, it's made up of a couple of components. One, we've put money aside, and the village has been putting money aside in the road fund out of our general account for years. The second portion,
How much is that?
that one's approximately $600,000. Then we had the 1 mil increase that council approved for last year's tax roll. Based upon last year's taxable value, that was $217,000.
A year.
Yes, but that changes because taxable values change. So whatever that 1 mil against the taxable value is, whether it goes up or it goes down. And this year, I just received a notice from the board, and taxables went up about 4.7%. The last portion is that we have monies, total money that's available for the road project is $3.3 million, a little bit over $3.3 million, because we continue to get Act 51 money that we put aside in both local and in major road funds. The only major road the village has is Bingham Road. Everything else is local roads as far as the public roads are. So when we look at that, we look at the cost versus the 3.3, plus the fact that we're taking out and have been approved for a $2 million loan through the State Infrastructure Bank.
So that goes down here as a source of.
As a source, right? It has,
2 mil.
yes, $2 million, payable over 10 years at 3.25% interest. So it's approximately 200, and I haven't seen the actual document come over, but it's between $237,000, $240,000 a year on payments. That payment starts 1 year after the loan is dispersed. And then I look at, so that's the money that we have for the roads. Then I always want to make sure too, back of that is I need money for daily operating expenses.
And that was my next question.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the state typically in your general fund, they want you to represent at least a balance of 25% or greater. I typically do a little bit more than 25%, so I figure out a dollar amount that makes me be able to sleep at night knowing that I can pay for the plowing, the salting, the garbage pickup, the library, the police, the fire, all of that. So those are the sources of funding that we use towards the road project.
So what's the sweet spot on the 3.3 million that you would spend on phase one, that you'd be comfortable spending on phase one?
Well, we have that available. I mean, we, knowing too, this is the other thing, right? We know that we have to do phase two. And we know that phase two, don't know how long, but we will not try to, we're not going to want to wait 10 years to have something done on phase two. Costs go up, and we have to go through the same process of HRC going through looking at that, going out to bid and seeing what the bids come back on that portion and what the village wants to do. You've all talked about whether you do mill and fill, whether you do, take it up and replace it, whether you do sealing, whether you do cape sealing. So a lot of that's depending upon what you all decide is the right thing to do in phase 2.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, give you a minute.
Kind of go back to what Eric was talking about. I also was on the roads committee. We put an awful lot in what you guys have put together with that particular one was, we then talked back and forth. I think we've even, contrary to what you said, we did bring it up at one point that we were thinking of the private road people cutting that in half, but still with the idea that they would have to go in and out, egress on Bingham Road. So that was the reason for that. We've talked about many, many other things. However, in your original estimate, it was, if I recall, for those 85, 86 households, whatever it was, that was all households, everybody paying that. We actually will take in less money if we go to 250 for, if I recall.
No, and when we did the original numbers,
Was it just,
it did not include any of the residences on private roads.
oh, okay,
So if we do something for private roads, it'll actually put a little more into it.
which will help pay off the SAD loan.
That's correct.
And the faster we can get that paid off, then then we can go on to phase 2. A lot of this is catching up to what we need then to carry over for phase 2. Because we don't know what that's gonna be. Brad might be able to say something, but we know that's gonna be pretty expensive.
Right. So phase 2 is Bristol Lane in the courts,
Yeah,
and we know that Bristol Lane is in
a mess.
rough shape. It's gonna be a heavier lift
Yeah.
than phase 1, just because of the condition of the road. So we need to consider making sure again that we're servicing, even though it's in 2 different phases, that we're making sure that we're thoughtful in phase 1 so that we can make sure we can fund phase 2.
Yeah,
Because that would be a disaster
yeah.
if we did phase 1 and couldn't afford phase 2.
Yeah, that would not be fair to the village.
Right. So it sounds to me like we're pretty set on $500.
And 250.
Well, I'm gonna do
Oh,
250
oh, I see.
discussion
Oh, I see.
separate.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it may be helpful to me, but maybe for everybody, just, again, because I believe the resolution is very clear on the private, it doesn't mention a dollar value, that's what we're gonna vote on.
Right.
But it does mention specific roads, including the names of some private roads.
Mhm.
Correct.
But it doesn't include, so that does include Bingham Point, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the name of the road, maybe that is the name of the road. It includes Woodland, it includes Bingham Court. But the clarification I guess I'm looking for is, does it or doesn't it, I believe it does not include Outland Trails, for instance.
It does not.
It does not.
Because it does not intersect a public road.
It includes Woodland Drive, Bingham Court, and Bingham Point Drive.
Okay, perfect. But, and again, for everybody here, we're only talking north of 13 Mile
Right.
for whether it's a private or a public assessment.
Correct.
For tonight.
And Woodland goes straight to 14, so they don't have to drive on Bingham Road.
Now Woodland goes to.
Or, I'm sorry, not Woodland, Outland.
Outland.
That's correct.
Outland goes straight to
That's
14.
correct.
So they go on to, 13 and 14 are county roads.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they go to the county road.
Same with Cardinal Lane.
Yes.
Cardinal Lane's another one, right?
Yep.
Mhm. And Pioneer now,
But not included.
Right.
Not included.
right.
So really, the appropriate motion, whenever you're ready, would be to adopt resolution number 3, and then fill in the blank, how much a year for each property on the public roads, how much a year for each property in the private roads, the duration, which I believe everybody agrees is 10 years, and then you have to establish the district, and I think Ken has a suggested district that was outlined on the notices that were sent out, so you can incorporate that. Those are the 3 things, or the 4 things you have to fit.
So, yeah. So what we're gonna do, that's one resolution, so we're gonna settle, I'd like to settle the 500 and have a separate discussion about the 250, but it'll all be one resolution, right? Yeah. Okay, so just anybody have an issue with the 500? We're not taking an official vote. I'd like to move on to the next topic, which is the private roads that feed into the public road.
And those are the 3 roads that I just mentioned.
Yes, those are the 3 roads just mentioned.
Right.
Do you want to start, or, I don't, just because you were on the roads committee? No?
I have, if the question is, do I have a problem with 500? No, I do not. I think
No,
that's,
the 250.
Or the 250? Or, I
Oh,
hate to even use the dollar amount, the next, so we're just talking,
Yeah.
so the 500, we're
It's
just
done. We're
putting,
done with that.
we're putting it on the side. Now we're gonna talk about the private road.
If the clarification is, as we've just described, I'm okay with the 250.
Okay.
I had previously stated my concern on behalf of the private road owners about the 250 number. And I understand completely that $1 million from the total SAD. And Eric, that 1 million from the SAD did not initially, that financial
It did not
forecast
initially
did not include the
That's correct.
private road
That is
people.
correct.
So anything coming from the private road people
top.
is on top of it.
That's correct.
And how many households can you say are, on Bingham Point, there's how many?
I don't know this. off
Is
the
it
top
about
of my
50
head.
or not even?
No.
Bingham
Point's about
25?
25?
29.
29?
Yeah.
And Bingham Court is 5, and Woodland is 9?
No. Yeah,
Woodland's
more than that.
11 parcels.
11? So 29, 5, and 11 is 45, correct? So 45 times 250
11,250
per year?
per year, times 10.
Okay,
Yeah.
It'd add another 112,000.
okay. And per household, it's $2,500 over 10 years.
That's what I'm understanding, $250 a year.
Okay.
Plus
It's-
interest.
Right.
Unless you pay it all. at
Unless you
once.
pay it all.
Unless you pay it all at once.
And the interest is 7%, so on $250, it's less than $20.
Who gets the interest?
Okay.
Village. And the interest is required by your ordinance. That number is from your ordinance.
Oh, because this is the first night I've heard that you're gonna charge me interest.
On the
Giving you
SAD.
money. So, okay.
So was the interest also computed?
No, I do not.
So that's additional revenue.
That is correct.
So that's a significant amount of additional revenue.
Over 10
It's
years.
$35 per person a year on 500.
Over, correct me, Dale, if I'm wrong, over 10 years, over $1 million, it's about $70,000.
Yeah.
So $70,000 worth of new interest came into the picture today, plus what was not in our initial financial forecast, over 100, so we got $200,000 of new money coming in.
Over the life of both phases of the project, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
significant.
no, there's no question, yeah. No question.
Unless
And-
people decide to just cut a check and be done with it.
That's right.
I mean,
And I don't know what the
$5,000.
likelihood of that happening is, but, you know.
Save 7%. It's still money,
Yeah, and it's today's, yeah.
yeah. And it's today's money.
What's a different number, and what, do we want to reopen things? I understand completely the need not to just start all over again. But I also don't want to set a precedent here of having those who don't directly benefit from something have to pay half, so that when we get to phase 2 of this project, all of a sudden, all of these special assessments are going to be coming in whole different ways. I just don't want to set a precedent. So if we can agree that this is not precedent setting for our discussions on Phase 2, I will go along with the 250.
From a legal standpoint, it's not precedent setting.
I'm not even sure Phase 2 would have any,
It doesn't,
any
No.
private road that
There's no
intersects
private
the
road.
public
There's
road.
no private roads.
All
Nothing.
of Bingham Woods is,
13.
goes straight to 13.
Goes straight to 13.
Yeah.
So this would not be an indicator of
No.
having special assessments go from Bingham Woods people to fix Bristol Lane.
That's
No.
correct,
No.
yeah.
Okay,
Correct.
I want to be clear on that, on behalf of the Bingham Woods residents.
That's
Okay,
you're also clear that Outlands Trail is not part of this?
yes,
Yes.
All right.
okay,
On Lot 1.
okay.
No, right. There's a couple of houses,
There's a couple of
driveways
houses.
off of 14 and 13
Yeah.
that are just not included at all.
Mhm.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stop
I just want to reiterate to council that there's no perfect solution. I mean, if we start carving the pie even more than we've already carved it,
Yeah.
I see real problems forming on Bristol Lane. I mean, if you could say, well, we don't, you know, we drive on the road, but I don't drive that far down the road.
No.
So, I mean, we're only gonna hear that on Bristol Lane, right? So I feel like that would be a precedent that would be,
Bristol Lane and 13 mile.
right. I mean, why should you be
Yeah.
assessed the same as somebody that lives at the end of Bristol Lane? So I'm afraid to carve that piece further where, you know, the people that drive on Bingham Lane or Bingham Road, no matter how far down Bingham Road is, can't get to their house without driving on that road. And I think that that just needs to be the answer. That's my opinion.
I don't see that as a problem tonight. I've not heard anybody object. Are we ready to move?
I don't know. I'm trying not to rush anybody on this.
I know.
I want everybody to have time.
I should also point out that not everybody uses the library. We all pay for that. Not everybody has kids in school. We all pay for that.
Don't get started.
Don't go there.
Oh, my God.
There's no need to go there.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
a
we're part of the village, it's a community.
Yeah.
So then are we feeling a little more settled about the 250?
Yeah.
I can try to make a motion when you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're ready.
You ready?
Wait.
I just have two more points.
Yeah.
Number one, Eric, just to clarify, when you say that the $1 million number, that's including Phase 2 people?
That is correct. That's what
Not
it
just-
says. It's the entire
Okay,
project. That's
right.
correct.
The second thing is that when the mill was raised in June, that applied to every property, commercial or
Right.
residential,
Right.
just so that everyone's aware that commercial properties are paying into this as well, and they're all on Telegraph or 13 Mile.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make that point. Go ahead, Dirk.
So the motion would be to adopt resolution number 3, with the special assessment amount being $500 a year over 10 years, plus interest for those properties described in the resolution on public roads, and $250 a year over 10 years, plus interest for those properties that are private roads as described in the resolution, with the special assessment district being that area that Ken has highlighted on the map that was attached to the notice.
Okay, and for 10 years, both of them are 10 years.
Both for 10 years, correct.
Need a motion?
Yes.
I will so move.
I will so second.
Is there any further discussion?
Dirk, isn't this a roll call?
Roll call.
Yes, roll call vote, yeah.
Is there any further discussion? I didn't hear the answer.
No.
Okay. All right, here we go. Blackburn,
Aye.
DeRoney,
Yes.
Hageman,
Aye.
Howard,
Yes.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Mashigian,
Yes.
Miller. Just for the record. All right, that passes 6-0.
Okay, thank you all for this. This is a big step for us. The bid packet will be going out, and we will start receiving bids from companies, and we'll move forward. At this point, I would like to suggest a 5-minute recess. kind of let people move out? I need a motion.
Oh, I move that we take a 5-minute break.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're gonna. I'd like to call the meeting back to order at 8:34 PM. We are going to move to signage. Where's Mr. Shepler?
He was speaking to somebody out in the hall.
Okay, I'll introduce this before he gets here. So, I wanted him to speak to it first, but this is something that I had asked to be on the agenda. I've been thinking about it for a couple of years. I just want to float it out there to see what council thinks before the staff dives any deeper into it. They've all done a little bit of work on this. I've done a little bit of work, but I don't want to go too far and use up too much time if council is not supportive of this. So I've been thinking about the fact that a lot of the signs are going to have to come out for this roads project. And we're going to be getting new roads. We're kind of polishing up the village, if you will. And now is the time to make this type of change if we, it makes the most sense to make some signage changes now if we're going to do it. So I think I'll get right back to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think if, over time, signs have been put up for different reasons over the last 15 years or 20 years, whatever, and they made sense then, but do they make sense now? Again, speaking of polishing up the village, this sign is currently in our village, this pole with those street signs. And I wondered if, and I'm going to let you speak, do you want to speak now?
It's not really in the village.
Well, it's
Technically,
sort of,
it's in the RCOC right away.
okay, so it's in our, okay, maybe you should speak to it.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's still, I mean, we see it when we drive
You
through the
see it
village.
when you drive through the village.
Okay, we see it when we drive through the village.
So RCOC has certain requirements for their signs. Anything that you do will need to be permitted through them. I don't know if that sign was permitted or how and why it was put up or when. So if RCOC ever came through and did any work and happened to tear it down, they have no obligation to put it back up. They could put up one of their own standard green signs that they have. If the village wants to go through RCOC to get something permitted, then you can come up with something, I'm not saying just like this, but something a little different, a little unique.
Mm-hmm.
But you just need to make sure you go through RCOC to do that. And if you want to take that and then extrapolate that throughout the village, that might be the way to do it, rather than having different signs within the village and then other signs on 13 and 14, things like that.
Right. So my vision for the village is that we would have signs that are unique to the village, something very simple like this. It doesn't have to be spectacular. But right now, if you look at the street signs, I don't think I sent a picture of just a street sign.
Funny enough, the next slide that you have with the mobile watch sign
Yeah.
also features a street sign.
Okay, so, see, I was thinking.
Yeah.
So if you look at our street signs, I mean, they're fine. They do the job. But they don't scream Bingham Farms. Like, I hear a lot about the character of Bingham Farms and wanting to make things a certain way, and I just wonder if now is our opportunity to update the village and make it look a little bit better with our new roads. So that's basically it. It's just a pole with a sign on top. Nothing, too offensive about it, but do the other ones look better?
I agree 200%. I
Okay.
think this is the time that if we're ever gonna do this, it's now.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not that we have to spend a fortune on it.
And I will get prices for it. That was what, I didn't want them to go, and Brad would also be involved. We would have to get approval, like you say, from RC.
Well, if you wanted to be consistent throughout the village, you can always just on 14 mile and 13 mile, go with RCOC standard signs and do whatever you want within the village, within the village for, like the corner of Bingham Road and Bingham Lane, the corner
Right.
of Bingham Road and Shagwood. You can do whatever you want there.
Within the village, so
within.
just, okay.
So it's whether you want to be consistent throughout the village, all signs are the same, or, you keep RCOC in their lane and their approved signs and you do what you want within the village. Okay, so those would be the two options.
Okay.
I think we go to consistent signs throughout on 13 and 14, because that actually lets people know you're
This is part of
entering-
Bingham Farms.
Then you're just gonna have less flexibility in what you can do. That's
Well,
all.
let's find out what that is.
Okay.
Are
Okay.
there people who have done this?
Oh,
Other
yeah.
villages
Oh, yeah.
that have a total look, including on the county roads?
There are definitely communities. Now, whether they are fully permitted, I cannot answer that question.
Right.
But there are definitely villages, the village,
Yep,
Bloomfield Hills,
Yep.
Franklin, I believe, there's,
Beverly Hills has some.
Beverly Hills has some. They have the other old stage one.
As a matter of fact,
They-
on that, with
Old, yeah,
Beverly
I think the developers of Old Stage may have put that up.
Yeah.
And then,
Oh,
again,
okay.
And actually, I think Beverly Hills has these signs throughout the Sherwood subdivision.
Forest.
Yeah, whichever sub has all the Robin Hood names.
yeah. So there are definitely communities that have done it. Again, we want to be on the level, right? And want to make sure we get approved signs.
Right,
So you just have less flexibility if you went with a RCOC approved type of sign for consistency, that's all.
Right, and I think consistency would be what would be nice, but I also think we should follow the rules. I would hate to spend money and, one sign they sort of don't look at, but then we do it of multiple signs and they're like, you need to take those down, and that would be a waste. I would want to find out what their specifications are, and again, that's why I stopped just short, because it's just staff time. And if council was like, this is a horrible idea, then I would just say, forget it. But I would like to find out what the standards are, what the cost would be, kind of what we can do, what we can't do, and again, like, how much does that pole cost? I have no clue, and I don't know, is that like a sleeve over the pole?
I don't know.
Right, because
Yeah.
I know there's some where you can have the pole, and then that is just a sleeve that goes over the existing pole, but
Is it plastic, is it aluminum, like, is it just?
I'm sure
I
there's
have no idea.
options. I'm sure you could spend as much as you want to spend on a pole, right?
Sure
But
you could.
we're not looking for that. I think it would just add a little nice touch to Bingham Farms. But if it's cost prohibitive, it's cost prohibitive, but we're spending a lot of money. And it would be nice if we could just take this opportunity to kind of update things.
There are monuments as well, monument signs on telegraph saying, welcome to Bingham Farm, or whatever. That would also bear the look.
You're referring to the direction signs that are like green, that are right on the.
It says that you're coming to Bingham.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something we could change, that's a state, isn't that a state
That's
directional thing?
On Telegraph, I'm sure there's always things you could do. It's a matter of how much effort and money you
Okay.
want to put into it.
So, at this point, I'm hearing that nobody's opposed to spending a little bit more time just investigating, and we're not making any decisions, but just investigating, making it more
I'd be
consistent.
happy to get whatever the rules are from Oakland County for roads, to see how flexible they be.
Cause it's RCOC and MMUTCD, right?
So MMUTCD is the Michigan Manual Uniform Traffic Control.
Right.
That's more for your stop signs, your speed limit signs, your regulatory type signs.
Okay, so we
not
don't have to
street
get
signs.
anything from them?
No.
Okay.
You just need to work with RCOC to say, what types of signs would you permit, I think that would be the introductory email to RCOC would be like, what types of street signs would you permit? The village would like to have something unique, and they want to have it throughout their village. What can you do for us? Like, what different varieties can you have? Things like that.
Just to be clear, we only are concerned with their permit, or their allowance, with the signs that are gonna be on 13 and 14. They don't have any
But
say
it
on
was
what
all
happens
about
inside.
maintaining consistency
Right,
throughout
understood.
the village. If you want to
So-
maintain consistency, you have to match what's on
Right.
13 and 14 miles.
So-
If you don't
so-
care about consistency, then you can do whatever you want
Do
internally.
you know how long their approval process is?
No.
And do you know how much it costs?
I'm sure a couple months.
Okay.
The approval process from
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
I would hope it wouldn't cost anything. It'd be a permit that
Alright.
you'd have to pull for
Right.
putting the signs in, and they would inspect them, and there's a cost to
All right.
review the plans, but to consult with them, no.
Okay.
So I think that's a good place to start is what's allowed on 13 and 14. Because I think it would be nice to have them all the same. Now, if they say nothing, we don't allow that, then we can talk about what we maybe want in our neighborhoods and be consistent there. But if we can
Or
make
if
it
you don't like the
all match.
examples they have.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And maybe we can say, can we submit something and see if they'll accept it.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so,
Can I, just one more comment to
Yes.
add, just briefly, is I'm seeing in surrounding communities, we're gonna replace stop signs.
most of them, yeah. Or, I mean, they'll all be there, but some are new, some, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, the
No, we're
answer
gonna
is
be
yes.
replacing stop signs with new reflectorized stop
Okay.
signs.
I could probably do this with a can of paint, but what I really liked is the post that's holding the stop sign is red, the same red as the sign, and it really catches your eye. So I'm thinking all those people that blow through stop signs on Bingham Road, it's one more thing, like, this is a stop sign, it's red, you've gotta stop. But it's
Do you know if
awfully
that's-
nice.
I can look into that.
I mean, it's all
I don't-
regulated. That would,
Yeah.
that would be this MMUTCD, right? We would have to see if they allow that.
Yeah, we just have to specify
Do-
that we want
Chief, do you
colored,
know if they allow that?
colored posts.
So he's correct. We'd have to check on what the uniform law says as far as traffic enforcement. But, you know, there's specific how high the sign, what the sign looks like, it has to be red. But whether the post can be red, I've never heard that before, but that's a good question.
In Bloomfield Hills. And there's not just Bloomfield Hills, but there are other communities that are doing it also. It's sort of like spreading.
Sure, we can look into that, absolutely.
I've been looking a lot at signs.
Me too.
Yeah.
Great.
But if I recall though, I think we used to get all our signage from Beverly Hills.
We still do.
That's
We
correct.
still
We
do.
do. I mean, when
So
there-
whatever
something
they
has
have,
to
I
be
would
replaced.
assume would be,
Yeah.
But they would need
compliant.
to follow these
Yes.
compliances.
I mean,
Yeah.
make that assumption.
I mean, they might have a sign, I don't know if they have a sign shop in their DPW yard, but
I think they just have a surplus, if
Yeah,
I'm not
okay.
mistaken. But some of these
Okay.
other ones that we're discussing, they won't have it all, probably.
correct, because they're
So,
not standard or
right.
irregular as noted.
Okay, so, great, fabulous. We can move on with that. Okay, so along that same vein, we had said in a September 2024 council meeting that we're going to include mobile watch signs in our overall signage plan. And right now, there's about 30 signs, okay. Right now, there's about 30 signs in our village. Different sizes, different places, and I believe.
That's not recommended.
Right,
by the way.
that, you know, again, if we're trying to sort of start fresh and right and compliant, the laws and such have changed over the years, that, putting a sign like that on a stop sign, facing two different directions for one thing, and on a, what would you call that, a directional sign, or a, what's the name
Like
of
a
a stop
regulatory
sign?
sign.
A regulatory sign, is not right.
It's not recommended.
It doesn't.
It's not recommended, I don't know if it's.
Right. It's not
illegal.
recommended.
Not recommended.
So, I again, trying to sort of shine things up, I would like to propose making all of the mobile watch signs consistent. I like this size, I think it does just fine, to warn people that mobile watch is in the area. If we were gonna be, doing what's suggested, I think the mobile watch signs are supposed to be on their own pole. Is that correct?
If they're large, so there's a couple larger signs, like when you come into the village on Bingham Road and Bingham Lane, that are the larger signs. They
Right.
need to be on their own post. If they're small like this, they can be on the same post with some type of pedestrian sign.
Okay. So, I think it should be a goal, this is my opinion, is to have the smaller signs so that every single sign doesn't have to be on its own pole, the bigger signs. So sticking with the smaller signs, which there's more smaller signs than bigger signs in the village anyways. So going to a consistent size and then attaching them to an existing pole that's allowed. Are there any thoughts on that? And the village would,
DE, are you looking at the map?
Yeah, that, right.
Well,
Like this?
It's a much larger size.
Yes.
there. If you-
Lisa?
Yes.
Karen Dietrich is the
Mhm.
president of Mobile Watch.
Right.
For Bingham Farms, and she did an inventory.
I have it here.
Yeah, good.
Mhm.
She has a count of all the signs, the Mobile Watch signs.
I have it
in
right
the
here.
village, Yeah.
Yep, that's how I know there's
We
30.
have it and we gave it to Brad
Yes.
as well.
And we did work, we contacted Franklin because they had an excess of signs. All their Mobile Watch signs have been Franklin on it, and it just
Right.
wouldn't fit.
No.
It just doesn't make it, so.
No, I think we can,
Are they free?
I think we can, all right. We'll like scribble them out. Well, I think we can afford our own signs.
Put your silhouette on there.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Should we find a picture of John Bingham?
Yes,
Oh,
that's a good
there you
idea. So, I don't know what I was saying, but I would like to sort of float that out there. We said that we would pay for the signs, include the signs in our plan, and I think now is a good time to talk about it. That is on, multiple streets. Shagwood, Old Orchard, Timber Trail, Hickory Hollow, Bingham Lane. And I think we need to fix that up. Did I have another picture?
These are the two I got.
So like
Okay.
for Shagwood, currently there is on the opposite side of the street, there is a dead end sign, right? That Mobile Watch could go
Just
under that
move
dead
over
end
there.
sign, and that's fine.
Right.
So again, we understand, I believe the direction from this board would be, we don't want sign pollution.
Right.
We don't want too many signs. We want to keep things to a minimum, but we also want them to be properly regulatory. And we have enough signs to make sure that people aren't speeding, that we have speed limit signs on all roads, and that we do make sure people watch out for pedestrians on the roads. There are a couple signs that are not standard signs. The ones that say slow children playing, keep kids alive, drive 25. Those are non-standard type signs and almost insinuate that kids would be playing in the streets and watch out for them.
Well, actually, they are now.
Yeah, they play in the streets.
Yeah.
Again, if you, it is not recommended to keep those signs. If you want those signs because they have some sentimental value, we can definitely make them. They are gonna be more expensive than a standard sign.
Do we know who put them up?
Oh, they've been for a long time.
Hey, a minute.
So,
I mean,
I'm
and
not being critical.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
No.
I don't
Well,
remember.
Birmingham had them, that's where I got the idea.
And that's why I want to sort of just start at ground zero again. And they will be replaced with other signs.
correct, they
So
will
the
have.
Keep Kids Alive 25 would be replaced by a 25 pedestrian sign. So there's not just kids in the road, there's also adults in the road walking.
Because we do a lot of walking.
And this caution intersection, maybe icy, needs to be replaced with a picture. So, I think, I just think it's a nice time the signs are coming out anyway. I don't know why we would just stick everything back thoughtlessly the way it was. The other one that I had, maybe I
And
didn't
the
send it.
Keep Kids Alive, Drive 25 is not a regulatory speed limit sign, is it?
No.
So,
So,
I always thought slow children meant they were slow children.
That's what someone else said. I never really thought of it that way until someone said that, and I was like,
First
that's.
thing I thought.
boy. The
Yeah,
other
oh boy.
sign that I have a question about is the ordinance sign for the bus stop, to stop for buses. So they're very large signs. And on the bottom it says ordinance whatever. But we don't have any other signs in our village stating ordinances. Is that a state law or anything that you have to have the bus thing?
I think it's a state law.
No. I mean, you have to stop, but yes. And you learn that in driver's ed, and they put their little stop sign thing out, and I'm just wondering if we need a sign telling people that that's an ordinance. Because again, like you said, sign pollution. I'm just trying to sort of start again with, I think if you go through driver's training, you know you have to stop for a bus. And I don't know why we need one ordinance posted multiple times throughout the village. Right.
Now that's it's going northbound on Bingham Road, just north of 13, right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
I know there's one on Bristol, but we're not talking about that.
Yeah,
But I
there's
know
two
there's at least
signs right
one
now.
14 mile of Bingham.
coming the
Going
other way.
South as well? Okay.
Yes, right.
I will look into whether or not they're needed. Right now, we have them just as to remove, salvage, and replace, pretty much put them back on a new post.
Right, but do we need,
So if we don't want them, we can just, I mean, it's not something, that we can just take that out of the bid. It's not a huge item. Say,
Right.
no, we don't want that, just remove it, you know?
Right.
So, but it'd be nice to have it, in the bid properly, so we can check into that. There's just no promises that we'll have an answer by Wednesday.
okay,
So we'll leave it in for right now, so we have a cost to remove, salvage, and replace it. And if we end up just not doing it, then we'll save a little money.
just remove and salvage.
Just remove.
Right. What is salvage? Oh, save it?
Yeah, save it,
Okay.
so you can reinstall it
So
later.
just remove.
Just remove.
And over time, I'm sure signs will be added, and then in 15 years, in 20 years, somebody else can start at ground zero again. Just try
Well,
to
as a general
shine
comment,
up.
our signs are in desperate need.
Yeah,
Yes.
all new stop signs,
So-
all new speed limit, any sign that would just be replaced, will be replaced with a new
That's bad.
reflectorized sign.
You know, I might suggest this is the time to have like a sign committee that is working on some of the options that we have going to get the regulatory for 14 mile and 13 mile and bring everything to council, not to make decisions, but just to get an idea of what's available, from where and how much.
Yeah, because it's recommended to go out, if you're gonna do street signs, to go out like later separately, especially if you're gonna do something specialty. You want a specialty contractor doing it.
Right.
You don't wanna try and lump it onto a road job and have a road contractor subcontract it out to whomever is cheapest.
Right.
So it doesn't need to be done with this project. Should be done soon thereafter.
Right.
Right, just keeping time with it, but
Is the removal of the road signs in your cost for the project?
the removal, salvage, and replace, yes, is. So they're just gonna take this one out during construction, if they need to. Again, we're just doing roads. If they don't need to take it out, they won't, right? And then we'll
But
just
when
say,
they're
so,
doing the drainage ditches.
if it's by where they're doing some of the drainage stuff, then yeah, they'll probably take it out. But in areas where they're not, and they're just doing the road work, signs are, 3 or 4 feet off the road. If their machine's not planning on hitting it, they're not gonna take it out. Now, we won't pay them for it either, but we'll have it in there just in case.
Okay, so it sounds like,
So we have our plan.
People are on
So
board.
that's kind of what we talked about.
Right.
No sign pollution, just replace what we have to, replace all the new one, or replace all the existing stop signs, speed limit signs that are there with up-to-date MMUTCD approved signage.
right. And, I mean, I think a lot of the work that you're talking about is done. I mean, you guys have already done a lot of signage work. So let's just talk later about getting, what exactly does need to be looked into and how to
You mean
go
the
about
street
that.
signs? The street signs?
Yeah.
Not the traffic control signs, but the street signs.
Right.
Traffic control signs are pretty standard.
We don't have choices.
Not really.
Okay, I just wanted to take the temperature on the signage. So let's move forward and get some costs and all that, and we'll decide
Okay.
later. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Before Brad goes,
Oh. I'm joking.
easy. Just so it clarify in my mind, HRC is ready to rock and roll.
Yes.
Like, full bore, let's go ahead. Second thing is, and because I was walking the streets today and it just caught my eye. When we talk about turning Timber Trail into a trail, is that from Bingham Road all the way to Hickory Hollow? Because there is
No.
one,
But not the
there
driveway.
is one driveway that,
Right.
but we're, okay, so
We have to
that
keep that,
driveway,
yeah.
that,
We're not closing that driveway down.
we are not.
No,
No.
it starts after the driveway.
It starts Because you have a lot of people drive up that and have to turn around.
I thought of that. Well, there'll be, hopefully they'll know that after one or two times. That, oh, wait, this doesn't go through anymore.
Okay.
Well, I
we
mean,
could actually-
the only people using that are the people that live on Hickory Hollow,
Yeah.
correct?
They go Old Orchard.
So we could
Right, so they
conceivably come up with a sign that says.
Dead end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is a dead end anyway.
It is a dead end.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
So
so.
really, right, the people that would use Timber Trail to drive back there are people that live there.
So Timber Trail is not gonna start at Bingham Road, it's gonna start at the end of that driveway.
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, there's some space there that is sort of, I guess we call it vacant, or just, yeah.
With the bollards.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And when they turn, they'll see it blocked,
We hope.
Yeah, right.
Still keep it.
or they'll learn real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bollards will presumably be reflective too.
Right, yeah. Yeah, there'll be bollards there.
Yeah, we're proposing like a flexible type of bollard so that emergency vehicles can still get through there if they need to, but your standard vehicle
Can't.
would be damaged essentially if it did.
Right. Okay, any other questions while we have Mr. Shepler's undivided attention?
Those are my two things.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Brad.
Good night.
You too. We are gonna move to new business, which is the village attorney RFPs.
Yeah, I'll take
Ken?
that. Dirk is gone for the evening. As a result of Dirk's announcement that he will be retiring and that Seacrest is no longer represented us as of April 15th, we put out requests for proposals. They were due March 19th, last week, Wednesday, 3 p.m. We have received 2 responses, 2 proposals. They're included in your packet. And they're included in this little, I made this little chart for everybody. Your code is in my office, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm off the clock now.
Oh, okay.
I'm here for my own interest.
All right, okay. All right. Thought you were looking for your jacket, sorry.
No, I thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. So we received two responses to the request for proposals from the 2 firms. You see they're listed, the Baker Law Group and Bear Howlett. If I don't, you have a discussion today, you can make a decision tonight if you want. Alternatively, I would suggest that council schedule a special meeting for an evening prior to the date that Dirk leaves, April 15th, and then ask the attorneys or an attorney from one of the firms each to come and make presentations to you all.
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay, you want to pick a date now? Or do you want me to try to coordinate with them and
Well,
see
do we
what's
wanna
available?
just discuss it first?
Well, that's possible too.
Let's discuss how people are feeling about the 2 options.
I'm in favor of Bear Howlett for the reason that the Baker Law Firm just severed a relationship with another group, and they lost a lot of accounts. And there's a reason for that, and I don't know what the reason is, but that would concern me tremendously.
Okay,
So-
good information.
Yeah,
Anybody
this
else?
information. Did you just find it online? Is that what you
No, it was
researched?
right in here in their proposal.
Oh, was it in there?
Yeah, they said that they lost a lot of the different city and municipal accounts, and they went with the previous firm. They were not able to maintain, Baker was not able to maintain those municipal accounts. And that was effective the beginning of this year. So they're scrambling right now, they're scrambling,
That's interesting.
yeah. So, based on, yes, they are cheaper, but, you get what you pay for.
So just, because there was a process here, you sent out, I guess, to a number of different law firms?
No, I put out what's called a request for proposal. It's posted on the Michigan Municipal League website.
Okay.
And
So anybody could have responded?
any attorney, yeah, we, obviously, the proposal requested, obviously, municipal attorney, and that they are located in the general Detroit metropolitan area. We don't want someone representing us from Muskegon or something of that nature that can't ever get to a meeting. So,
But
a
Dirk-
couple
I
of the
can't remember
parameters.
Dirk's law firm, they didn't want to
No, they,
at this time?
when he submitted his resignation,
See, I didn't read this all, just,
when he submitted his resignation, the firm is also resigning, if you will. They have a lack of attorneys in the municipal law department.
interesting.
Yeah, they've lost 3.
Yeah.
The other thing is that the lead counsel from Bear Howlett would be the actual president of the firm, and he bills out at 200. His associate, I guess he's a rather new guy who's just come on board, bills out a little less than the 200. And they also said in their he bills out at 175. They also said that they would attend every council meeting. That would be their practice, rather than we have right now an optional attendance, which normally is exercised, but it still is optional. And right within signing their agreement, it would be mandatory, from what I take it, that they do attend every council meeting.
I have a question. Do they charge for travel time?
No, they do not. They both, both firms in their proposals say they do not do that.
You know, I thought I read in one, I didn't see it in the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will tell you all, I know I know Scott Baker pretty well. He represented Lathrop Village when I worked there. I know Michael Gibbons from Beer Howlett as well. Not as well. I know him mainly from my interactions with the Village of Franklin. They're both fine individuals. I don't know the other people that are on the list.
So if we retain one of, either one, doesn't really matter. And I admit I have not read it well enough.
Mhm.
Is there can we decide we don't like you after 30 days and move on with life?
Trial period?
Yeah, well, or just I mean, how did, we sign
How
up
long is
for
the
a year
contract?
or 6 months? Or-
Yeah, well,
It's pretty much ongoing unless, we can always fire
We can
them.
always just say
We can
goodbye.
sever the relationship within
Right.
30 or 60 days, but
Oh.
but there's not a deadline
Okay.
necessarily, like the contract for rubbish, it has a
No, that's
deadline
what I'm
to
trying,
it.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
not
good analogy.
Right.
We don't like you, you don't have an
Right.
option to send
No.
somebody else in, we don't like you anymore.
Right, there's an option for that.
we don't like you?
That's right. We don't like you.
Right. Or if advice is not good or not clear or something, yeah, right,
Or they don't show up.
Or they don't come to our meetings,
Right.
we ask.
right.
You have to wait for them?
So what I'm hearing is that council would prefer a special meeting to meet each firm and discuss
Mhm.
options. Is that correct?
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll be a special meeting?
Yep, it would be a special meeting.
No.
Yes.
Under the Open Meetings Act?
Yes.
Now, Bar Howlett was
Right?
I'm
the
sorry.
village attorney.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
There's 4 questions at once. What was the question? Was number 1 question?
Let's start
Would
here.
the meeting
Oh.
have to be?
It is an
an
open
open
meeting.
meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
it is, yes. Yes, it is. And what was the question?
It wasn't a question, I wanted,
Oh.
if I remember, Bar Howlett was the village attorney at one point. Am I correct, Kath?
Way back.
Way back, yeah.
I don't see their names in anything, but I don't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt Kathy's wisdom. I bet you do.
Never, that came out of your mouth, not mine.
I was putting it on your plate. All right, so, shall either way, I could either call the fellas and see if they can, or call the attorneys and see if when they're available, and then just throw dates at you, or we can pick a few dates now. If we do pick dates, I would have to say Mondays are probably not good for most attorneys. They typically, a lot of communities have meetings on Monday nights. So there'd be someone that wouldn't be able to attend, and I'd hate to do that.
Tuesdays or Wednesdays?
Tuesdays or Wednesdays?
Yeah.
Are Tuesdays or Wednesdays generally good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you want me to approach them, ask them if they're available on a Tuesday or a Wednesday? If I can get them both, then then Lisa will call a special meeting and we'll put the notice out. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Does it make sense to have input from Dirk?
What's that?
Does it make sense to have input from Dirk?
I asked him that
Yeah.
before the meeting started, and he said he did not need to be here for this at all.
Well, not on a legal perspective, but he's been doing this job for a long time.
Right.
But
Longer than all of us.
I don't think didn't you say he really has no,
These attorneys have been doing it for a
no,
long time.
Well, I understand that, but he's been here doing this.
We can certainly ask him to weigh
Or
in.
even-
He would not be at the special meeting.
Correct, or
Okay.
even just, what questions should I ask?
I could throw that
I
out.
haven't
That's
hired a
not-
lawyer lately, so.
okay.
Thankfully. So I can throw that at him, yeah, yep.
I mean, just if you have any input or questions,
Mhm.
perspective, I
Right.
guess I'll say.
Okay.
And I do want to clarify one point, tab 8 on Baker Hollitt, the reimbursement for out-of-pocket expenses for services, materials, and supplies, appraisal fees, certification fees, and expended carrier charges, and travel expenses are billable for the one. And the other, they are not. For Baker, they are not.
I thought I saw something different there, but I'm not gonna go through the whole thing.
And Dirk's firm charges what per hour is to get I think they're at 135 an hour?
165
Yeah.
now.
165.
He went from 135 to
To
165 just recently, yep.
All right.
Yeah, and I would ask, and that would be a good question to ask during the thing, like, just travel expenses, is that if he needs to travel to some other community, or, is that coming to our meetings, or is that just, I'm sorry, there's a quick question?
Just a follow-up to the question in terms of hourly rate. As of last week, Southfield Township did the same thing in terms of raising the rate up to 165 for Southfield Township as well.
Thank you, thanks, Jerry.
Okay, so we will be in touch about that date.
Right, I will get on that tomorrow. See if
Okay.
I can secure something for the following week.
All right, let's move to treasurer's report, and we're gonna start with the Woodland Pump Agreement. Bill?
We are, thank you. It's the new item. I usually just do the bills and the statements typically, but we have new ones. So in your packet, I wrote a memo. We were contacted a while back from WRC, letting us know and advising that the pump that's been in Woodland, off of Woodland Drive, for that pond that discharges the level, if it comes up, has been end of life. There's very few parts availability on it. The mechanisms and the way that it works is antiquated, and that it needs to be replaced. So when we first originally looked at that, they gave us an estimate of about $50,000, of course, which I kind of reared back, and they said, well, because of the way it is, and I had many conversations with Dirk, because of the way it is, what we would do is that we would have to engage and contract through WRC because they provide the service to the village. They would go ahead and do the work. WRC would then bill us. This whole process, by the way, is anywhere from 4 to 6 months to have it, order the parts, get them in, do the installation, and finish up. Once they would present us with an invoice. We would pay WRC that amount, and then we would turn around within the same day, the same week, and invoice the HOA, and they would reimburse us for that $55,000, whatever the cost is in order to get the pump replaced. Went through, I met with Ron Miller, who was the president at the time for Woodland Homeowners Association. He told me that they had the funds, that they would go and, they had almost all of the funds, they would go and make sure that they had the funds to do it. He said, just send us the contract. Dirk drafted a contract. We gave it to them. They reviewed it. The new president who, by the way, was on the road committee. Yes, so he's fine with it, and I told him the process via Dirk is, we have to run it by council, have the motion. Once you approve it, I'll send the contract back over to them. They sign first, hard copy, wet ink, send it to us. We'll sign it on behalf of the village, and then we'll give them their copy, executed copy, and we have our copy, and then I would reach out to WRC to have that process started. And if we're looking at it now, 4 to 6 months, it's going to actually fall into next fiscal year. But I just wanted to make sure.
It's a net zero.
It's a net zero, it's a push, exactly.
There's no cost to us at all for this.
Yep.
There's no
Yep.
general fund
Takes a little
dollars.
time, but it's-
Yep. As a matter of fact, not to bore you, but the SAD that we do for the pump maintenance, that's kind of a pass-through as well for the police. We collect the money, I put it on the tax roll under the SAD, they pay it, and I clear it. Any questions?
Bill, do you anticipate any delay where we'd be on the hook for the 55,000 and our budget be low and we'd have to have money going out to road contractors? Do you think you said they're almost with the 55?
Oh, they will. I mean, that was when I spoke to them probably 5-6 months ago, when this whole thing started. Yes.
So they should have
Yes.
it to write a check the next day?
Yes, yes. It's like and for instance, if for some reason I wanted to make sure that Dirk addressed this and put it in the contract, they said, all right, what's the process to cure if they don't? And the answer is, liens go against the property and you put it on the tax bill. One way or another, they're going to pay. But to your point, it's, okay, are you going to pay me today for this hamburger, or are you going to pay me next Friday, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, but I don't envision any issues with them. I mean, quite frankly, when the cost, it was like, okay, it's just a cost that we have to bear, and it wasn't really an issue.
Somehow they raised the money already.
Yeah, yeah. They had a good portion. Mr. Miller didn't tell me exactly how much, but he just said we have a good portion of it already banked up, and it would just, go through and make sure that everyone else has to donate whatever the delta is in order to make the funds to cover the replacement of the pump. So that's the motion that's in front. If there's not any other questions, you all know what to do when there's a motion.
Is there a motion to approve the Woodland Pump Agreement?
I so move.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item, which is very familiar to all of us, is approval of the bills. Well, we always do it in two sections. The checks disbursement for this month was February 26, 2025 through March 25th, 2025, which is tomorrow, out of the general fund, $323,559.42. Under the gas and weight funds for the same dates, February 26, 2025 through March 25th, 2025, the total expense, it was one invoice from Johnson Landscaping in the amount of $8,620 even, for a total of $332,179.42. Any questions regarding about the bills?
The vendor, Hubble Roth,
Yes.
has multiple projects.
Yes.
They're all billed under the same account, or are all clustered together. As the road project costs start coming in, are we going to have clear, separated accounting?
We are going to do a couple of things, and I reviewed this with our auditor. For this fiscal year, when we close it out, because of the funds that we had for the 1 mil increase and all of that, we are going to pay HRC out of the funds that are designated here in the account codes. And then what we will do is we're doing an accounting for that to make sure that we know exactly what portion of it is, and we see it on the invoices, of going to that, and we can either reclassify or do what we need to do to make sure the monies are in the buckets that it needs to. The second thing is I had a conversation with Brad, and I actually shared this with Trustee Michigan on Friday. He is on his invoices now. He's given me a download of various account codes that they use. He is putting the not-to-exceed number of $680,100 on the invoice. He's showing what the charge is, and he's showing what the remaining balance is after you deduct that charge from the $680,100. So we will know what he's billing for, when he's billing for it, what the amounts are, what the total amount that is not to exceed number that will not change, and what the remaining balance that they have to finish up for their fees that they stated on the not to exceed number. In the new fiscal year, what we'll start to be doing is I will have to make sure that when we have road construction on Bingham, that's got to go under the major account road and the ones that are on local will go under the local, and then I have to make sure that I also take and allocate whatever funds out of the general funds to make sure that it's appropriated, just like I do now when we do, if money coming in or money going out, which one was done for the, plowing of Bingham versus the run for the local roads. So we split that out on a fractional basis that has been going on since many years before I've got here. But to answer your question, Trustee Howard, that's all got to be accounted for and put in right side up to make sure that we know exactly where every penny's going.
There's like 95,000 just this month
Yes.
that's expended. And the previous months, there have been expenditures as well towards this project.
Yes.
So do you know where we are on that total? Are we halfway, a third of the way?
I actually am going through I pulled all the way back. I went and pulled all the way back through last year for two reasons. One, the billing that we did from last year may not have been assigned to the road projects, but what I want to make sure is I have to report the ARPA funds next month to the federal government. So I've got to make sure that everything lines up, that we used all that money, and that we can count for it. But to answer your question, I'm going to do a more in-depth to make sure now that after I talk to Brad that says this is what I'd like on the invoices, so that we know where we're at any point in time, and then go back if anything needs to be reclassified to have it reclassified.
And none of these invoices showed that yet?
The ones that he just...
96,000 this month, those did not show. What remains?
There's, I believe that they're actually, the last invoice that he did that was dated in March, he does have he updated it and sent it to me, so, yes, yes. I just have to go back and proof and check to make sure that everything is captured. Because, well, for instance, when they invoice us, there's multiple line items, as you'll see.
Yeah.
There's escrows for different properties, they come through, there's just regular engineering that I put to just the straight account, and then I break it out between both one of the funds for the ARPA, one that comes out, and sometimes we bill half of it to the Oakland County Critical Infrastructure Grant. So all of that's got to go within the proper codes and accounts.
We're going to be creating new account numbers like crazy, probably.
Maybe one or maybe a couple, but most of them, based upon when Trustee Jones was here and he had us move the 217 so that we rectify that everything's cleaner, I think that we have a pretty good handle on it, and just needs to make sure that we do that I do the housekeeping and keep it up so that we know exactly where we're at. Any other questions I can answer regarding the bills?
No, but I think that was a great discussion, because it's, at the end of it, just making sure we know what counts against the not to exceed.
Yeah. The other thing, just so that everyone knows, I sent an email, I've got to follow up with Brad, but what I also requested from him is not only on the invoice, but I would almost like a statement, right? To say, here's where it started, here's what we billed, and then boom, boom, every month, and then again, it's against the balance of there, so that it's for my purposes to help kind of streamline it, so I don't have to go back to every individual invoice and say, okay, what did they bill, look at it and say what it's against. I've got a running total on a statement on a monthly basis.
And that's a statement I would love to
That's
see
what we
shared
all
with.
need.
Okay, I can include it in the package.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, very much so.
Was there a motion to approve the March 2025 bills?
I move that we approve.
A second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. The financial statements for February 2025.
Yes, thank you. Next motion is financial statements for February 2025. Again, it's in your packet. I don't want to rush anybody, but since the meeting has gone on, a little bit more brevity. Let me just ask us, is there any questions? We're tracking right where we should be. As a matter of fact, we're doing a little bit better in some areas as compared to last fiscal year at the same time. Any questions regarding the profit and loss portion for period ending 2/28/25? None? Okay, I'll move to the investments then. Investments are pretty straightforward. There's a couple that have, as I commented at last council meeting, some of them that matured and some of them that come on. We have been, again, luckily enough to find fairly decent rates that are out there on both of them. One thing that I am going to look at, and I've just checked out, is I may, again, my mantra is maximize interest income and reduce fees. One of the things I'm thinking of doing is I've contacted Flagstar because I thought there was a minimum balance before fees would start to be assessed. I find out that that is not the case. We have $159,303 as of the statement in February for that, and that is at 3.25%. If I want to move a portion of that money to, well, let me step back. I want to use some of that money because I'm going to need to transfer to pay the bills that are in the checks before you guys approve this. I haven't sent some of the large checks out yet. So I'm always going to use the less interest rate that we do to pay from it. But also I wanted to move some over in some of the higher yielding accounts. And I can almost get not quite 100 basis points, but, Huntington cash sweeps, insured cash sweeps at 4. There's some that I could put into Michigan class, although because we kind of regulate and make sure that we can't have more than 600,000 in one. Again, right now you see it's at 602. I just move it over to keep it right underneath. At the end, when they add the interest, I always monitor that and play with it. But, going from 3.25% to 4%, that'll buy us a little bit more interest, and I'm all about making sure that we maximize that as much as possible. So you may see that balance go down in Flagstar.
Nice.
But I wanted to make sure that there was no fees that were going to be assessed at. Some of them, like, for instance, our gas and weight account with Huntington, if you go below a certain amount, $9,000, fees start to get assessed. So I keep $10,000 in there at all times. If I need a little bit more, like for the Johnson Landscaping, I'll put it in. The check clears and it goes back down to 10. So I don't want to see any of the fees. Any questions on the investments?
You the best, Bill.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, then you want to make a motion?
I move that we
Accept the financial statements for
Thank you.
2020.
Accept the financial statements. Thank you, Lisa.
Second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. The last thing is trustee comments. We're going to go around the table, starting with trustee McAlexander.
I felt really good about the public hearing. I thought, we got some good input, and I think we got a great plan, so congratulations.
Mhm.
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add.
No, awesome.
I was going to reiterate what Eric said. Yeah, I think it was a great meeting. I think we got a lot done.
I would agree with that. I was happy to see the public turn out.
Chief, you didn't have to stay the whole time. We appreciate you did.
It's very interesting.
Sure.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move, so
Second.
move.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Meeting adjourned at 9:26 PM. Thank you.